live. Okay, hold on.
Greetings, this is Josh Lorenz, President of the Metro Atlanta Association of Professionals. Are you looking to expand your business, seeking employment connections, or are you looking to grow your professional network? Then this is the organization for you. We are Atlanta's first and oldest business association for professional members of the LGBT community and our allies. We've been at the cutting edge of making sure you meet the right professional connections to take your career to the next level. For more information about membership and being part of our legacy, visit our website at www.maapatl.org. Once again, that's maapatl.org. Looking for networking? There's a map for that. We look forward to seeing you at our next event.
Greetings, this is Joshua Luke, your editor-in-chief of the newest global media platform for professional African-American gay men. eBay Man embodies the work of CEOs, entrepreneurs, industry experts, community leaders, and change agents.
Stand by, everyone. We're trying to wait till everybody goes in, hoping that everybody can hear the audio okay.
And eBay Man is a blend of two cultures coming together to embody the affluent, professional Black gay man. For subscription information and updated news, visit ebayman.com. Once again, www.ebayman.com.
eBay Man is the first historic media partner for History of Black Gay America.
Greetings, this is Jim Farmer, Festival Director of Out on Film. Since 1987, Out on Film has been dedicated to supporting the exhibition of LGBT film and video art forms with top-rated films, intimate settings, audience participation, and special celebrity events, which gives moviegoers and sponsors a way to connect and extend a 90-minute film into a lasting relationship. For more information about film submission, the history of the festival, and how to donate or sponsor, please visit outonfilm.org. That's outonfilm.org.
Meak Productions is proud to be an official media partner for this organization. You're tuned in to Meak Productions syndicated shows, now celebrating its 10th anniversary. We present to you a new episode of our #1 LGBT community news outlet, Meak Pro Media Special Edition, starting right now. One, two, three, and we're live. Hoping that everything sounds okay. Hoping that you all can see me okay. Want everybody that's who our special guest panelists to kind of just stay tuned for just a hot minute. Want to make sure that I introduce everybody. Welcome to a quarantine edition of Meak Pro Media Special Edition News. We're celebrating our 10th anniversary this season and providing the very best in LGBT community-based news and entertainment from locally, nationally, and globally. So thank you so much for tuning in. I'm, of course, Miko Evans, the CEO of Meak Productions. We're the world's first LGBT exclusive talent agency and production company. If this is your first time tuning in to us, please be sure to follow us via our website at www.meakproductions.com. That's M-E-A-K as in kite. Productions with an S.com. You can also follow us on social media by the same name. That's Meak Productions, all one word, M-E-A-K as in kite, Productions with an S. For our National Black LGBT subsidiary, History of Black Gay America, you can just follow that on social media at History BLKGAY USA. Once again, that's History BLKGAY USA. For our LGBT music radio show, the Various Artists Talent Showcase, you can follow us only on Facebook. And you can just go to Various Artists LGBT on Facebook. That's the official Facebook fan page for that. And I think that's about it. I wanted to have this discussion. This is part one of our two-part conversation concerning the COVID-19 pandemic and its effects on the LGBTQ community and gay pride organizations and events across the country. And I felt that it was very important to have this discussion because I know local LGBT media outlets are talking about things that's happening within their specific cities and regions. But I definitely wanted to come on board to talk about the effects that COVID-19 has had on the LGBTQ community and also on LGBT communities of color, because I know I have some representatives from some Black gay prides on the line right now, and we're going to actually bring them in just a minute. But to set the tone, I want to kind of go over a little history as to, I also want to give a shout out to Ricky Smith, who's the actual president of the End of Life Atlanta Foundation. So he's actually tuned into us on YouTube chat. So I want to say hello to him. Make sure I do that right now and everything. I'm multitasking, y'all, so please bear with me and everything. So everybody that's joined in with us right now on YouTube, thank you all so much for tuning in. And for those people who miss our live stream, you will be able to view this actually after, you know, the stream is over. It will actually be available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on our YouTube channel whenever you get a chance. All right. Let me see who else here. I want to also welcome the actual executive team of Atlanta Black Pride Incorporated is actually standing by right now. And I also want to give a shout out to legendary activist, Brother Earl Fowlkes for Center for Black Equity. He's actually online right now. And I think there's someone else online right now. I don't see their names right now. They just have guests, but I'm going to actually admit them when I can. Hold on just a moment. Make sure I admit Miss Amber Moore. So thank you so much for tuning in, and this guest right here. So our guest is actually tuned in right now, and I'm hoping that you all can see everybody. If not, we're going to make sure that we showcase them in just a second, okay? Hold on just a second. Hold on, y'all. Okay, let me make sure that we're actually on board right now. Okay, I see everybody. I'm trying to see who else is online and stuff. Let me see. Okay, that's Mr. Dwight Allen O'Neill is actually on online right now. So we're going to actually bring him on board in just a minute. So make sure all of y'all stuff is on mute right now, because I want to make sure that we set the tone for this particular discussion. I want to actually take you all on a trip down memory lane as it relates to the COVID-19 pandemic and its beginning effects that it had on the LGBTQIA community. I also want to give a shout out to Miss Jamie Ferguson, who's the executive director of Atlanta Pride Committee here. And hopefully we can have her online for tomorrow's discussion, because I want to make sure that we have a balanced discussion and stuff. I know we actually sent invitations out to Enterpride. We also sent some invitations out to South Carolina Black Pride, to San Diego Pride. And we're going to actually kind of go over them briefly, and we're going to talk more about those other prides in detail, okay? But I want to actually kind of start off with something that the Human Rights Campaign posted back on March the 23rd. Let me get something to drink right quick. And they actually talked about, they actually posted this on their website in their blog about 5 ways COVID-19 impacts global LGBTQ advocacy. And I'm going to actually post this link in the chat room so you all can actually read it at your leisure. And to those people that's actually tuned in to us on YouTube, I'm going to post this link for you all to actually read this. Excuse me, I'm sorry. You all can read this at your leisure, because I feel that it's very important, because a lot of people are not really aware of the impact that this pandemic has had on not just the LGBTQ community, but also marginalized communities in general, okay? Hold on just a second. Okay. All right. So hold on just a minute, making sure I have, hold on. Uh-oh. Okay. Hold on just a second. I want to read this right quick because I feel that this is very important. COVID-19 continues to disrupt everyday work life for a growing majority of Americans. As an advocate for global LGBTQ equality, that disruption feels even more acute with the rapid spread of the virus to 159 countries and the ever-evolving restrictions on international travel and in-country movement. While connecting with people around the world today has never been easier, the work of global LGBTQ advocacy often requires bringing people together beyond borders. This is particularly the case for those living in places where the fight for rights is already difficult and the need for engaging with international allies has great impact. How do LGBTQ advocates recognize the ways COVID-19 is impacting the work and support those feeling the crunch, even as they continue to safeguard gains made, push back against anti-LGBTQ agendas, and I'm going to bring something to you all's attention concerning that part, and care for the community and own well-being? Here are the 5 ways COVID-19 is impacting global LGBTQ advocacy. 1, harder to support the most vulnerable members of the LGBTQ community. 2, more difficult to carry out programs, be visible, and raise funds. 3, fewer chances to safely and securely connect. 4, greater opportunities for governments to restrict freedoms and to not be held accountable. And I'm gonna give one example in a minute. And 5, risk of burnout and need for self-care, okay? We can talk about that more later on in our show and possibly on tomorrow, because I feel that this is important. And it was a great way for the Human Rights Campaign to kind of start off this particular post, you know, this pandemic with this particular post. And I don't know if anybody actually had a chance to even know about this or to read about it. So read over this at your leisure. But to talk about the item number 4, where it says greater opportunities for governments to restrict freedoms and to not be held accountable, let's go over here to Idaho. And I'm going to read something that was posted on both CNN and CBS News. And I also want to give a shout out to actress and legendary trans activist Laverne Cox, who actually did an interview with another trans man, I think that was living in actual Idaho, where this particular law is being affected. Idaho, I think, as they say, as the United States battles the coronavirus pandemic, this was March 30th that this was posted on CBS News. Lawmakers in Idaho quietly passed the first 2 anti-transgender bills in the country to be approved by both houses of a state legislature. And with residents under a stay-at-home order, protesters lost the opportunity to make their voices heard in person, okay? House Bill 500 will ban transgender women and girls from competing in girls' sports at public schools and state colleges and universities in the state of Idaho. The legislation, referred to as the Fairness in Women's Sports Act, only applies to transgender students wanting to participate in girls' or women's sports, even if they identify as female. The bill does not apply to transgender students who identify as male and want to participate in boys' or men's sports. House Bill 509 would block transgender people from changing the gender designation on their Idaho birth certificate. Wow. Under the bill, a birth certificate could only be amended within 1 year of its filing. After that, it could only be changed via a court challenge on the basis of, quote, on the basis of fraud, duress, or material mistake of fact. Okay, y'all can, I'll probably post this particular article later on so we can discuss it further. But I wanted to give that particular example and set the tone because I kind of saw this in a way because I found it very, very strange for this pandemic to start affecting us right during an election year. Okay, and looking at the fact of the most vulnerable is being affected right now, and a lot of marginalized communities are actually being affected as a result of this. So I want to actually bring some people in. So I'm going to unmute you all right now, and y'all kind of give me y'all actual thoughts on what I just presented so far, if you all can. First of all, welcome to everybody. And thank you all so much for taking the time out your busy schedule to be a part of this important discussion. So, who wants to start first? Can I hear anybody? Hold up. Hold up now. I'm not hearing no one. I need to make sure that everybody's unmuted. Because I unmuted everybody. Hello.
Hello. I think that
Uh,
I'll start. I'm Amber
Amber
Moore.
in the house. Okay.
Yes, I'm Amber Moore, COO of Atlanta Black Pride, and I guess I think this has given our government an opportunity to take our rights away, and that goes across the board. I think it's given employers an opportunity to fire or let go, furlough, whatever you want to call it. The LGBT community first off, like that's the first round, so to speak. They look at them and they go, okay, get rid of them now. And I do think that I think it has affected us a lot more than it has affected possibly other communities.
Mm-hmm. Anybody else want to add something to that? That's a good point, Amber. Thank you once again for joining us. Anybody else want to add something to that?
So I agree with Amber on the LGBT standpoint, but it's not even just the LGBTQIA plus standpoint of that when it comes to the whole COVID-19 pandemic. People of color in general are just marginalized at the present moment. Our numbers are not counted. We're not tested as often. And those that get tested may not get their test results for, they say you should get your test results from a rapid test in 30 minutes or 1 to 2 days. Sometimes you're waiting 2 weeks to get your test results, especially here in the state of Georgia. As an LGBT person who got tested here in the state of Georgia, I can tell you that it took about 3 weeks before I got a result, before the so-called rapid test even came out. To get a test, first you had to get a doctor's permission, and then you have to have symptoms, and then you have to have all this other stuff. And then we decided to open up the state, and then it became, well, everybody get a test, whatever you want to get a test. So yeah, we are a marginalized community, which is nothing new. The fact that this pandemic kicked off last year, November, December, in Wuhan, and our elected individuals in office, it'll go away. It's just like the flu. At the same time, China is closing down their city, sending people home, sanitizing daily to try to combat something that's happening in their community. But we turned a blind eye. New York was the hardest hit area for it. And it was, it's just 11 deaths, it'll be okay. And then the people of New York rise up and say, no, this is not going to be okay, because there's more than 11 people affected. You got planes coming into JFK, you got planes coming into LaGuardia, planes flying into New York, and all those big airports coming from across seas, bringing people from China and other areas that are infected. But because New York only had 11, it's going to be okay. So the whole handling of the COVID-19 situation by the current administration is just like, made us look like we're in a cartoon to the rest of the world. And I often tell people, we keep expecting the wrong dude to do the right thing, and it's just not happening.
Wow. That's a great way to start off this conversation. Because I'm also looking at this. Does anybody else want to add something before I also, before I continue? Because I want to make sure that I give everybody the chance to speak. Anybody? Dwight, what's going on with you, buddy?
Hey, so being a native New Yorker here, first off, I just want to say it's really great to connect with everybody and just to see faces. As someone that has definitely been affected by this, I have not left my home in weeks, in months, to be honest, other than running to the grocery store. And I mean, a huge kudos to our governor for stepping up, because there was no one that had leadership. Definitely he has instilled its opportunity with anyone. However, I think you hit the nail on the head saying that, we've been waiting for the wrong person to do something when he wasn't going to do anything. They knew of this early on, and the government did not do a plan of action. I have my own personal things that I think are going on. I find it ironic that this has occurred the year of an election. I don't think anything has happened by accident.
Absolutely.
I also am noticing the areas that are being impacted are definitely areas with large populations of particular demographics. And I don't think that's a coincidence at all. But overall, what I will say is that looking at the silver lining in the glass half full, I mean, it's definitely brought a sense of unity to people. I feel a lot closer to people in this situation than before. Like, I have friends that I have, FaceTime with or connected with virtually that I typically haven't really had that opportunity to connect with. My mother has graduated to using FaceTime to have our conversations. Weekly, we actually cook together in the kitchen. She uses her Facebook app for her FaceTime where I have an iPhone or whatever. And it's just, I'm feeling closer in that sense. And I personally am utilizing this time and utilizing my brand to try to be positive and giving people that sense of hope. Because in the beginning, all you heard was COVID-19, stay in the house, stay in the house. So it's like some people don't have, a roommate or a partner or a significant other. They're alone. And it's hard for them to be alone. And my biggest fear when all this happened were suicide rates going to go up within our community specifically, because if I'm alone in New York and my family's cut me off because I am gay and because I have embraced my sexuality, who do I turn to in that moment? Like, who's connecting with those individuals? So for me, being here in New York specifically, being in the epicenter of this pandemic, it definitely has opened my eyes to realize, what this world is about and the power of our vote. I always have been a voter and I knew my vote was important. I've always thought that. So this has really, really even driven home further how important it is. And I feared something like this would happen when he was in office. I didn't think it would be this specifically, but my heart, my spirit had warned me that something was going to occur. And I think this is it,
I find it very, very, very interesting. I'm glad that you brought it up on your end, because I actually want to talk about how, what have you seen as far as the LGBT businesses being affected by this pandemic in New York. But going back, like I had said earlier, and I talked about earlier about, I found it very interesting, like you said before, that this happened during an election season. And right at the start of the pandemic in Idaho, they actually tried it. In Idaho, they passed 2 anti-trans laws. You know what I'm saying? And I found that, okay, y'all did this knowing that we was going to be shelter in place. Nobody's going to be out to protest, to try to fight against it and stuff like that. So
Right.
I found this very, very strange and interesting that the state of Idaho would do something like this. You know what I'm saying? And there's no telling
is
how
everything.
many other state legislators had tried to pull this off as well. So, I just have not, found anything online yet, because I know I did a big search when I, did the research on Idaho. And I found out about that back in April when Laverne Cox had brought it, to our attention on her Instagram page. So, but it's really, really interesting that all of this is occurring. And so much is happening on both for the consumer as well as for the business side, because take it from me, who been an entrepreneur for 25 years and, been running Meak Productions for 15. And not everybody has been approved for the payroll paycheck protection program. Not everybody has been approved for some of the economic injury relief fund that is offered through the Small Business Administration. And because, keep in mind, each state is different as it relates to this type of support that people are getting, because there's some people that's still waiting to be approved for unemployment.
Yes, it is. I mean, I know
Yes.
firsthand, like, I have friends and family that this is week 10 for them, that they don't have an income coming in. And I kid you not that between staying busy, I'm constantly on the phone with people. So when I tell you, like, God is good, like, I don't know anyone's beliefs and I don't want to offend nobody, but I believe in God. And I know early February, I had a vision And I didn't know what was going on, but I was told to get myself in order and start planning for the next few months, to start saving, not spending as much, not making it rain, like put some money away, like really change your focus of what you're doing. And little did I know that fast forward, I actually ended up walking away from my job because I was in this really negative space there. And I'm the type of person that if I'm not happy in any situation, whether that's work, relationships, friendships, whatever, I'm going to exit. You know, I'm going to be the bigger person and find something else to do and just trust that God's going to manifest and provide for me. So I end up leaving where I was. And 3 weeks later, everyone on my team was let go.
Wow.
And then the following week, friends were let go because I work in the beauty industry. And they were just like, those careers don't exist anymore and they're not going to come back.
Wow.
They're just gone. And living in New York, especially, not everyone, a lot of people live check to check. They don't have money put away. So to hear that they're still waiting on unemployment, it literally breaks my heart. And then to find out in New York City specifically, in New York City specifically, at one point, it was only 3 people working in the unemployment office, processing everything.
Wow.
And I knew that firsthand from speaking to someone there. So I like every day I give daily praise, you know, sending thoughts and love out. Like I send my heart out to those that are processing the paperwork, because when the people finally get on the phone, they're upset with them, mad at them, they've been on hold because they're stressed out. So it's become this cluster of just chaos, unfortunately. And to hear people are still waiting, not only for unemployment, also for benefits as well. Like it's just they're backed up. The system is just backed up.
Because they really didn't, they really wasn't prepared. And it's unfortunate that many of our governments weren't prepared for something such as this, and they should have been, to be honest with you. I want to acknowledge Earl, folks. I see your hand. And I also want to acknowledge on YouTube, DJ Ephraim Adams. Thank you so much for tuning in. He's representing the LGBT community from Hartford, Connecticut. And I know he just posted something about he just got back from a protest in his own city. So Ephraim, if you're not busy on tomorrow, I want you to actually come on our live on tomorrow to kind of talk more about what's been happening in Hartford, Connecticut, and to the LGBTQ community there in your city as well, because we want to find out as much as we can and what's going on, so that we'll know as a community how we can all rally together via the resources that we have available to us right now. Earl, folks, I want you to come on in and give your viewpoints about what's been going on up there since you are in the nation's capital. So go ahead and take it away, brother.
Well,
glad to see you online.
Thank you. My pleasure. There's two points I'd like to make. First of all, as far as the Idaho situation, that bill in Idaho has been passing through the legislature for several years. They took advantage of this opportunity, but bill was going to be brought forth whether it was a pandemic or not. And I think we have to realize that there are a number of states, we call those red states, and Georgia being one of them. There's a lot of states where these kind of bills are always presented to each legislative session. And there are bills being passed like this in Missouri, there are bills being considered in Texas and other places. It just so happened the timing just to coincide with the pandemic, but it wasn't the pandemic that precipitated these bills. There are a group of people, conservatives, who believe that the transgender men and women do not have equal rights, and they're going to do everything they can and take any opportunity to deprive these Americans of their rights. The second thing is about the impact of the pandemic on the African-American community and LGBT people, and specifically, you know, we are vulnerable for any kind of situation that's health related, that's a negative, because we lack health infrastructure. In our communities, we don't have as many hospitals, we don't have as many access to doctors and nurses. We don't often have a good insurance, or we're underinsured. And so anytime this happened, like HIV/AIDS and like other diseases that hit our community, we're always going to be the most vulnerable, because we don't have the infrastructure in our communities to support healthy living. And so therefore, we're not ever being proactive, we're always reacting to stuff. And now, of course, it doesn't help that we have a leader who doesn't care about anyone, and including his own people, because they suffer as much as we do.
Mhm.
I think that only made it worse. But the fact of the matter is that there are several viruses that are going around. I understand the same virus that hit the people in California that came from Asia is not the same one that hit the people in the East Coast that came from Europe. So I'm not really into conspiracy conspiracy theories, but the fact of the matter is that it's not a conspiracy that the government doesn't care about Black folks. That's always been the case, and it surprises me that people are surprised that this is happening, because we were never really the first in line. We were always the last in line. And now that the disease is really starting to devastate African Americans, it's interesting. Now everyone wants to open up everything.
Mhm.
Open it up. We don't care. Black folks, what they're going to, and as one governor put it, and crudely, I'm summarizing, is that people are going to die anyway. So we
Mhm.
might as well be open and making money.
And
Because
you know
that's the
what?
system. We live in a capitalist system, is about making money. And many of us have bought into that. And as
That is
far as DC, we're not as bad as New York, but we're epicenter, the DMV area. We're still closed until June 8th. Most of the surrounding counties in Northern Virginia and Maryland are closed. And it's having a devastating effect on our community, because the people who aren't working look mostly like you and I. They're doing
absolutely.
service industry jobs. They're doing jobs. If they don't come to work, they don't get paid. And the suffering is really bad here in DC. It's really, people are suffering.
How since you're representing DC, because I'm noticing that certain cities, certain counties and stuff they're like opening, things back up. Some are doing it slowly but surely. Some are waiting till later, like in June or what have you. And I'm noticing that a lot of the gay prides are, if they have not been postponed already, I'm talking about as far as for June in the summer, if they have not either been postponed to next year, many of them have opt to actually do things online. So I want to actually get your input about is DC Pride or DC Black Pride, are you all planning to do things virtually, or have you all totally postponed till next year? What are you all's plans as it relates to this pandemic?
Well, as DC Black Pride, we have postponed the physical Pride until next year.
Mm-hmm.
But we are doing virtual Pride. We have a virtual tea dance with DJ Cedric. We have a drag bingo with the Harmonica Sunbeam. And we have a number of workshops that we're doing in coalition with some of our partners, a transgender town hall, a youth town hall, a few other things. So we're doing, the problem with virtual is that you can't expect people to sit for hours watching their computer. Especially if the weekend is going to be this weekend for us is going to be a pretty decent weekend. The weather's going to be pretty decent, and people are itching to go outside. And everyone's doing everything virtual. And I don't know about anyone else, but I'm kind of overloaded with virtual. I'm tired of looking at a screen. I'm tired of looking at television. I'm tired of Zoom. And there are people who are just want to do stuff with other people. And this, I think every state is going to be, every jurisdiction is going to be open by the first or second week of June, because there's too much political pressure and economic pressure to stay closed.
And then not only that, I'm glad you brought that up, because I know I had mentioned this before in another online panel discussion, that the only reason, and I think you mentioned it earlier, the only reason why I know our governor and most governors that are like him are trying to open back up in a hurry is because they really don't want to support, those that are suffering. Y'all don't want to give out really no unemployment. Y'all don't want to give out any money to help, people in need, really. That's why y'all want people to hurry up and go back to work. And then the people that end up losing their jobs as a result of this pandemic, there's no guarantee that they're going to get their jobs back.
Well, it's interesting you say that, because a lot of this has to do about the tax base.
Mm-hmm.
The District of Columbia has lost almost $250 million, $750 million in tax revenue, which means a decrease in services and decrease in frozen pay for workers. It means a lot of services aren't going to happen. and a lot of the services that impact people of color and those who are at lower economic strata. It's about money, and states want that tax revenue because it took them 10 years to get over the Great Recession, and only in the last few years the governments have had a surplus of revenue. That surplus is all gone, and at the rate of unemployment that we have, even if everyone opened up tomorrow, the whole country opened up, the whole world opened up tomorrow, it's going to take 7 to 10 years before we recover and people get those jobs back. Some businesses aren't going to open up; they're going to be closed. And people are going to gradually start, and some people won't, other people will be hired, and it's just going to be a mess. And economically, the governments won't have any tax revenue, and that's one of the big compelling reasons for them to open up. It's not a health reason, it's for economic reason.
Absolutely. Speaking of that, this also brings to my attention as far as how this pandemic is affecting gay prides and how it is affecting you all financially, because as you stated just a few minutes ago, and I actually want to hear also from Atlanta Black Pride, if possible, to see, what has been y'all's decision, one, and then two, thinking about what Earl had just said about a lot of prides are actually moving virtually. Will it have the same impact as the normal prides where we'll be able to actually, commune with each other and stuff like that? I'm noticing that there's a possibility that it's going to have a financial impact as well. So anybody else want to kind of tune in and answer that?
So for Atlanta Black Pride, the official statement at the present time is that we are still watching the numbers for the state of Georgia. The team collectively at the end of the month here will make a decision whether we move Atlanta Black Pride to something virtual or we do a scaled back version based upon what Mayor Bottoms decides to do within the city of Atlanta, Governor Kemp decides to do with the state of Georgia. Right now, the bars and the clubs and things like that are still on lockdown.
They are.
So nobody's going out anywhere. Large gatherings are still limited to about 50 people. And we're here now at Memorial Day weekend. So Mayor Bottoms has extended her executive order into June. With that executive order is a statement that we're not issuing any permits for large scale events. Atlanta PD has been directed not to issue any special event permits. Parks and Recreation has been instructed not to issue any outdoor permits in any city park. The city council further extended that order out a few weeks ago. And so at the present moment, the month of May, Memorial Day weekend here in Atlanta is Jazz Festival weekend, which will not take place. We canceled Dogwood. It was moved, but then it got canceled. Some of the other events that take place in May, June have been, some of them have been pushed out, but with the latest executive order, we don't know if they are going to take place or not. And so with that, we're working within the bounds and constraints of the city, local officials, and state official as it comes to Atlanta Black Pride. I think what you're going to see this year for Atlanta Black Pride is a scaled back version of what we usually have. Like everybody else, I'm virtualed out. Today, I had 10 calls, all video. And then when I wasn't on a video call, I was on a phone call. And so, today got rolling real early this morning and it's still rolling. And when I'm done here, I got another call I have to make. So I'm really virtualed out, but it's very hard to capture the attention of the younger LGBT group and have them sit through a virtual film festival, a literary cafe, workshops, a health seminar. It's very hard to capture those individuals for more than 30 minutes. And so when you start talking about town halls and virtual things going an hour and a half. It's just not going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're going to lose your audience. And
Mm.
most of the time, your audience, your speakers and presenters are going to be speaking and presenting to themselves. And so what we may have to do, and it's on the table, is to scale back some things. What's also on the table is not to have everything wrap around Labor Day weekend and pull some things in earlier. Like the Film Fest, have it in August, early August, as opposed to having it Saturday, Labor Day weekend. Lit Cafe sometime in July, as opposed to having it the Labor Day weekend. Workshops, town halls for the next few months, as opposed to having a full, robust schedule that we usually have on a Friday, Saturday, leading into Labor Day weekend. Because we're just not going to get the people. We're not going to get the numbers.
And I'm glad you brought that up, because I think what a lot of people are not recognizing is, like Earl, Mr. Fowlkes had just said earlier, that people's income is going to be strapped, and people are not going to be traveling because they're going to be trying to save money. This pandemic has messed up a lot of people's financial plans, just their whole financial regimen. And so people are going to be trying to do everything that they can to get that back up. So, you know, it's going to be very, very challenging, even though people are going to be excited to still want to get out and do some things. But the thing is that it's going to be very limited to possibly things local. Not too many people may be traveling out of town or anything like that. So, and like I said, it's really, I know it's going to be different in each city. Dwight, I want to actually get back to you. I'm gonna get back to you in a minute, Terrence. Dwight, I want to talk about New York City for a minute, because I know New York City was still planning to have their Pride event. You know, this was like back doing in April, until they actually started seeing what was going on, and then they decided to cancel all of their public events. And I don't know if they're doing anything virtual or not. Have you heard anything, Dwight?
So yeah, New York City has been canceled. There have not been loud talks about things that are going to be taking place virtually. However, individual promoters and individuals within the community are doing some things. So like myself, I'm planning on doing some virtual things on the app Big O. It's new apps popping up daily as well, doing the same virtual type things. But we are just, I think collectively what's happening, people are doing individual things. But I was going to say, like, even at a live Pride, to piggyback on what was said earlier, it's hard to get young people out to a lot of the activities other than going to a club. So virtually, especially, it's definitely going to be, I think, challenging, and it's going to take, you know, us all collectively working together, finding innovative ideas and the new normals on how to like keep them interactive and engaged. But yeah.
Wow. Because I know that, for example, I know LA Pride is going to be doing something virtual. Who else? San Diego Pride is doing something virtual. San Francisco have decided to do something online this late June. And I think somebody's which Pride? Chicago Pride this year would have been actually their still their 51st anniversary. And I don't see whether they're going to be doing something virtual or not, but I'll be checking back on their website because I'm looking at it right now. And we'll probably continue talking about this on a part 2 conversation on tomorrow. But once again, it's like, to those of you that are viewing right now, thank you all so much once again for tuning in. And I definitely want to make sure that the public knew about the effects that this pandemic has had on the LGBTQ community and what it's continuing to have on us right now, as far as financially, as far as health-wise and everything like that. Amber, what has your experience been? Because I know that you still an entrepreneur, I know, and I know you still work, you know, a regular job as well. So what has been your experience so far as the pandemic is concerned?
Okay, so I do want to touch on 2 things. I'll answer that question, and then I do want to talk about corporate sponsors that I know we all have been talking or trying to talk to. For me personally, I got furloughed from my 9 to 5, which made me have to do unemployment. I am blessed to be able to say I'm not one of the unfortunate that's waiting. It kicked in right away. Didn't waste any time. I think I applied one day, 3 days later, they were like, Hilton said yes, because I did work for Hilton. Still do, like I said, I'm furloughed. But what it allowed me to do as an entrepreneur is really focus on my business. And it also, one of the things that I think that Dwight mentioned was about the suicide and about being alone. It's just me and my dog. Even though my mother lives, down the street kind of thing, and I can walk to her house, the thing about being alone for me, I have been able to self-love, been able to change some things, been able to work out, meditate. I'm doing yoga, so a lot of people might not have that motivation. I hope that someone that they see on Facebook or Instagram or TikTok or any of these other social media outlets will encourage them so that the suicide rate for us in our community does not rise. And I agree with Dwight in the fact that there's a very, very strong possibility that will be a case. But for me, this has not been, it's been hard because I had just decided that I wanted to get a job out in corporate America, get dressed, go out, not just be in my pajamas at my house working.
Okay.
And the minute I decided to do that, and also my personal life, I had decided I'm ready to date. I'm recently, single, and I had decided, okay, I'm ready to get out again. Well, this happened, and I went, oh, so I'm used to being, I guess you could say, quarantined because of the job and what I do. Now, looking at what we mentioned about prides and the corporate sponsors, what I think one of the things we're going to find when this as we get further in opening up, is that corporate businesses are realizing that I might not need a brick and mortar. I might not need an office that big. I might need a whole building, because guess what? Bob in art and research, he can do that at home, and that costs me less. Oh, okay, so now I can cut him and raise my CEO paycheck. That's what you're gonna find. And then for us, those of us who are knocking on the doors, I really believe that this year it's gonna be difficult. And I think you're gonna have to go, and instead of getting your $20,000, sponsor or your $10,000, you're gonna have to go and you're gonna really have to embrace those small businesses with either, let me help you, this is free on me, or it's very minute amount of money that you're going to need to put in to be able to get the advertisement that you want. I'm not sure that our corporate sponsors this year are going to be as strong. And I don't mean that for Atlanta Black Pride. I'm talking about prides, period. I think that they're looking, I do believe they're going to look at the fact that us all, if we're doing physical ones, they're going to be worried about the liability of people being sick. That's
absolutely.
Then two, the issue that we all have that we're just discussing about making people understand and be able to come to the different online virtual stuff, because we're online and virtual so much, that's becoming our 24/7 now. So that's going to be an issue for your corporate sponsors, is that, hey, I see you doing this online, but what is it? How will it truly benefit me? I think we're going to have to be creative, guys. We really are. And I think that's for any prides. I don't think it matters if you're Black Pride, if you got two prides in your city, if you got one pride. I think it does not matter. I think it's going to be a very interesting thing to be able to get money from your nonprofits, from our larger nonprofits that we normally go to and they support. I think now, as you mentioned, same thing with our visitors that come to our prides, they're holding on to their money. And I say that because November is scary.
Very scary.
Very scary.
It's very scary. Like right now, you can't get a passport. I'm sorry. If you ain't got your passport by now, there's a strong possibility you're not getting one, because they've already said, no, you're not leaving this country. I'm so sorry. We're stuck, Chuck. So I look at that and I say to myself that, okay, that right, November is scary. So everybody's holding on to their dollars. People aren't selling their homes. People aren't selling their cars. You know what I'm saying? So I think all of those, I think that for us pride, organizers, we really have to decide and really think about how to strategize this year, just to kind of make sure we're present, make sure we're celebrating, make sure we're still empowering and educating, but yet building and really looking at 2021. I do think it'll be different as well, but I think it'll be a better, I think we'll be in a better space next year though.
I am so grateful that you actually brought up the situation as it relates to the businesses because, like I said earlier, being a small business owner myself, I did apply for all of the COVID-19 pandemic resources, and assistance that's available to small businesses. And then come to find out that a lot of small businesses, in particularly women-owned businesses, and businesses that are ran by minority and or marginalized persons or communities. Many of them, in one case, was shut out. You know what I'm saying? That was a big article about that sometime early in April. And so the small business community is also really struggling, especially if you represent or run a business, or if the business is ran by a marginalized community or a minority. And so these are the things that we definitely have to start thinking about when it comes to doing any type of event. Because even with our media side, when because we make money through our media division based off our advertisers and sponsors on the media end. And once the pandemic happened, excuse me, I knew that was going to be a cut with that. I knew it was going to be a cut when it came to us when we do live media coverage and stuff at events and stuff like that. When people hire us to do event photography and videography, I knew that was going to be a cut with that as it relates to income. And so, yeah, it's been a struggle for a lot of small business owners such as myself, because like I said, everybody did not get approved for the payroll paycheck protection program that's available for businesses. And everybody also didn't get approved for the economic injury relief fund that's offered by the Small Business Administration. Because I think the max that you can get under that particular program is 10 grand. And also, I know here in Georgia for the first time, and I want to give this info out to those people that's watching from Georgia, that for the first time, but that's if you can get approved, for the first time, the state of Georgia is allowing those who are self-employed, who are independent contractors, and who are, I think, Lyft drivers, Uber drivers, they can actually start applying now for unemployment. You just got to show proof of your self-employment, proof of you being the independent contractor and stuff like that. You just got to provide the documentation to show proof that, you can actually get approved. And so, but like I said, the wait process, you don't know if you're going to get approved right away, or you don't know if you're going to have to wait. So once again, it's a real challenge. Now, I don't know if they have the same program in other cities or states. Someone let me know if you can find out, and we can talk about this on part 2 on tomorrow. But it's a challenge with both, like I said, both the individual consumer as well as with the small businesses, both profit and nonprofit. And that's why I'm glad that you brought that up, Amber, and Earl, and Terrence, and Dwight. Thank you all so much for sharing your experiences as far as what you've all seen and what you've all experienced via this COVID-19 pandemic. Before we end part 1 of this discussion, does anyone have any final comments, any final thoughts that you all would like to bring up?
I do, actually. I would love to see personally, and I think, Amber, thank you for sharing. And I'm like you, like I've been thriving in this moment because I thrive when I haven't been pressured to leave. I'm able to get things done, writing and things like that. But factual is a lot of people have lost their jobs. A lot of people, jobs won't even exist anymore. There are a lot of companies that know they don't need brick and mortar. I would love to see, and I'm not necessarily a Pride organizer, I'm usually more talent that travels, but perhaps this year, Pride might be helping individuals discover new skill sets so that when things do reset, they're equipped to go out for these new opportunities, because we're going to have to reinvent the way we're thinking. Like, life is not going to go back to normal.
Absolutely.
All normal does not exist anymore. So what can we do for those individuals that may not be forward thinking right now, in helping them actually accelerate that forward thinking so that when life does continue, they're equipped with the skill sets and the opportunities and connecting with the people that can help them sustain and flourish in this new world that's being created. So I think that would be really great to see brought to life as to what that looks like.
Anybody else? That's a great point, Dwight. Thank you so much. Anybody else? Earl?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
I think, and to the other point is that the new normal, this COVID thing is not going to be over this year.
Right.
It's not going to be over for a while. And I think we have to, as a community, reassess our values, because a lot of our values are for entertainment, especially for younger people going out to these huge clubs. We've lost 2 club spaces that Black people attend in the last couple of months in DC. We lost Ziegfeld's, The Secrets, and we lost the Eagle. And that leaves us with maybe 1 possible club to rent, that maybe 2 that promoters can rent. So we're gonna have to learn how to socialize in a different way. Bars and clubs are not gonna be our principal way of socializing anymore. And the other part of that is, as the gentleman from New York says, that when things bad happen, there's still a group of people who do well. The stock market, there's still people who make money in the stock market. There's still people who create new businesses. We're going to have to start equipping our entrepreneurs and to really give them some skill sets and use the National Gay and Lesbian Chamber of Commerce and other organizations and start tapping into some support systems that already exist, because we have a new paradigm, and prides are going to have to do the same thing. The way we got money last, prides are all hurting because most of us make our money through sponsorship. So no sponsorship, no money. And I wonder how many prides are going to actually be able to come back next year, Black prides in particular. What we are doing for the Center for Black Equity, which runs DC Black Pride, we've actually are okay because we have grants to do other things. We're not dependent on DC Black Pride to bring money in. So we're not as bad as, we're hurting, but we're not suffering. It's a little uncomfortable at sometimes, but we have to start thinking forward. What is the post-COVID-19 going to look for our community? What about all these people who are suffering with their mental health issues and isolation? That's not going to go away.
Absolutely. 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 Because
I'm just putting out there, anyone that's listening, like, please reach out to me, www.o'neillappeal.com, any way that I can support and be of assistance, because I know that our brothers and sisters are going to need all of us to hold hands in overcoming this. Like, none of us know what post-COVID, whenever that happens, is going to look like. And it's going to take all of us to get through that.
And also, I'm also concerned about our seniors in the marginalized community, especially our seniors in the LGBTQ community and what they're going through. You see what I'm saying? Because I know those with compromised immune systems are affected, as well as those who are our seniors are also affected mostly. So we need to make sure that we are concerned about our seniors within the LGBTQ community.
And our youth. And our youth.
And the homeless, since we're going there.
And domestic violence. We're telling people that they have to stay home, and some people don't have homes to stay in. Some people have homes that are being beaten. Some people are couch surfing, and we're talking about social isolation, and people don't have a home that's safe to go to. Why would we expect them to go home if it's not safe?
Yeah,
absolutely.
That's factual.
Absolutely. Terrence, you got any final words before we actually close part 1 of this discussion?
2 comments for you. One was on the 1099 employees in unemployment. That is a part of the federal stimulus package.
It is.
That's for any state, not just the state of Georgia.
Okay.
It does take a little bit longer for you to get those benefits because, one, you do have to show that you're self-employed, and they have to go, of course, and do their research. Uber and Lyft drivers are easy to verify. They just verified it against the Uber and Lyft payroll. If you are your 1099 self-employed, then you need to be able to provide your payroll taxes and things of that nature for what you've done on that standpoint. I agree with Earl in the fact that we do have to check in on our youth as well as our elderly LGBT partners, because here in the city of Atlanta, domestic violence calls are up, as we expect them to be. You can't go out really during that whole lockdown period of, well, you can only go out if you go into the store. And even now, since some of those restrictions have been released, those calls are still up. So they're still fielding those calls on a daily basis. They're seeing more now than ever. The number of suicide cases going to Grady are up since this pandemic started.
Wow.
They're seeing an increased numbers in that and people being admitted to Grady and other facilities for taking pills, trying to take themselves out. So we do have to keep that in mind. As we all know, homeless is an issue across the country. Here in the city of Atlanta, it's more people of color and the youth of LGBT color that are homeless. I do applaud Mayor Bottoms and City Council for trying to get some programs together to help the homeless and make sure youth have a place to go here in the city, as well as other individuals that are homeless. But the fact of the matter, they're still out there. And we don't know how that population falls into COVID-19 testing and numbers. If they're not getting regular health care, of course, they're not getting tested. So those are things that we have to keep into the forefront as we work through this. This is the new normal. Going out with a mask on is a part of the new normal. Wearing gloves is part of the new normal. You know, and it's going to take time for people to get to that point. Some people will never get to that point. I've just seen some things recently and I'm like, okay, you've got to be kidding me. But hey, everybody has their own way of doing things. And so I just look and keep on going. It's like, okay, if that's what you feel like is safe, go right ahead on and do it. So, and the closing thought on that, when it comes to prides and sponsorship and financials and things of that nature, we are going to have to reinvent how we go after dollars. Even if you are getting grants for different programs and things of that nature. I think a lot of the Black Prides a long time ago moved away from sponsorships solely at Pride and Pride events for bringing in dollars to keep them afloat, because that's a one time a year, you know, kind of programming that you have going on. I think some of them have reinvented the wheel across the board to whereas they have things going on throughout the year and are able to write grants and facilitate different streams of income for that standpoint.
How do you, before we close, because I want to make sure that everybody, especially those of you who are part of nonprofits, those of you who have your own business and got projects going on, want to make sure I give you all the opportunity to get your plug in. But I want to make sure that we also understand, because I want to make sure I didn't miss my point, that we need to make sure that we find ways to support our activists as well, because there's a lot of activists that's still doing their job to make sure that they monitor our local, state, and federal officials when it comes to passing legislation that could work against us. So we want to make sure that, you know, we know exactly who to support this time. I know there's a lot of candidates in Georgia, in Atlanta and in Georgia, who are actually running for office. Many of them represent the LGBTQ community. Many of them have a track record of excellence in their public policy. So we'll probably talk more about that on tomorrow for those for our panelists that's going to be involved tomorrow. And if you all want to be a part of tomorrow's panel, you are more than welcome to join us. So I'm going to start with Amber. Amber, you got any plugs you want to put in right quick?
I'm actually good. I'm gonna yeah, I just think you got to pay attention to everything. You got
Absolutely.
When it comes to political, you got to pay attention to everything. Do your research. Don't just pick people. Just pick the right people. Now we really have to be careful.
Gotcha. Mr. Earl Fowlkes from Center for Black Equity, my boy.
Well, I'm going to put on my Democratic National Committee hat on. I'm on the Democratic National Committee, and I'm the on the executive committee, and I'm the chair of the LGBT caucus.
And
I'm
you've been
not
involved
telling
with that organization for a minute, right?
It's been this is my third term.
Gotcha.
And I'm not going to be partisan, but the fact of the matter is that, as Amber said, we'd have to look very carefully at people's records and in holding people, and especially our people, accountable. It's about accountability. People get elected and they think that they're due that seat and that's their seat forever.
Absolutely.
The fact of the matter is every 4 years, every 2 years, they have to go and earn that. And as Black queer folks, LGBTQ, same gender loving, we have to hold our people accountable, and we have to call them on stuff when they don't do the right thing. We have to call them up. We have to send emails. We have to buttonhole them and let them know that this is what we expect from them. And because many times they do things that they think is correct or they don't know, because none of us step forward and tell them what we want. We have to tell people what we want. They may think that we want certain things, but you never know, closed mouth doesn't get fed.
Absolutely.
So we have to be more proactive in holding our people accountable.
Gotcha. What's the official website for Center for Black Equity again?
It's www.centerforblack.equity oneword.org.
Gotcha. Want to make sure that those people that's tuning in to us on YouTube get a chance to follow you on that. Thank you so much, Earl.
You're
for
welcome.
being part of this. Dwight Allen O'Neill.
I
Go ahead and give your plug right quick and stuff.
I echo everything they just said. And my other thing I'll say is put them to work now. If you are having issues getting your unemployment, if you are having issues getting food stamps, if you're having issues getting on any type of Medicaid, you need to reach out to the offices of your state representatives and put them to work. It is their responsibility to help you. You need to call, leave messages, email them, stop calling the unemployment office because they're not going to be able to move your case along faster. You need to call those that you voted into these positions and put them to work today. Also in New York, I'm saying hotels are actually opening up for the public. I don't know what the system is, but I know a lot of homeless individuals are staying in hotels in New York. But reach out to your state representatives and make them work. Your bosses expect for you to work when you were working, so you're their boss, and you need to expect for them to work on your behalf.
Amen.
Amen. What's your website, Dwight? Because I think somebody was asking.
Yeah. It's www.o'neillappeal.com.
And I also want to congratulate you in advance for your 10th anniversary being associated with our agency. You are now part of our Hall of Fame. And that induction is going to be posted online, hopefully by June. So stay tuned.
I love it. Also, my book is launching in 2 weeks. My memoir.
I thought you was going to mention that sooner.
Oh, yeah. Well, I was trying not to make this about that, but yeah, my memoir is coming out on June 1st. It's Shoulda, Coulda, Woulda, Inspirational Mistakes That Made Me Me. So you can pre-order it on my website as well.
Awesome. Awesome. And last but not least, Brother Terrence, you got any plugs you want to put in right quick?
So Georgia, we are in early voting. We just extended some poll hours to start at 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. around the state. So take an opportunity to get out and early vote, just in case we get that second wave before we're expecting it and the primary and things. We'll make sure our votes count. So let's take advantage of the early voting opportunity, especially since most of us are still working from home or remote at this point. Let's take advantage of that opportunity to drive those numbers to the poll. Do your research on your candidates. There are both Senate seats in the state of Georgia are up for grab this year. We have Raphael Warnock and some other people running for one seat. And then we have John Ossoff and a couple other candidates running for the other seat. Do your research on your candidates. We've had Johnny Isakson has been in Congress forever and a day. And David Perdue is the junior senator from the state of Georgia. And if you know his track record, he votes right alongside 45 and agree with him one step of the way. So let's just make sure that we do our research on that. And not only on the national elections, we got several local elections. We got DA's offices up for grab. We got judges up for grab. Do your research, find out where they lay on the LGBT agenda. And also a lot of the candidates are hosting virtual town halls. So that's your opportunity to attend a virtual town hall. You don't have to leave your house, just attend, have your questions. May not get all of your questions answered, but at least post them to the forum or make it known. And someone from that team should be responding back to you with that information. So just keep that in mind.
All right. Once again, thank you all so much for tuning in to Meak Pro Media Special Edition News. This is a special conversation about the effects that the COVID-19 pandemic is having on the LGBTQ community and gay prides across the nation and possibly the world. Be sure to tune in to us on tomorrow evening as we continue this discussion. We're going to have Sister Imani Van Zap as a special guest host, as well as some other Pride organizers who couldn't attend on tonight's discussion. We're going to have them on tomorrow evening's discussion as well. And to those of you who participated on this evening, if you get a chance to participate tomorrow, please do so. I want to give a shout out to both Amber Moore and Terrence Stewart, who are the executive team of Atlanta Black Pride Incorporated. I also want to give a shout out once again to Brother Earl Fowlkes, founder of Center for Black Equity. And then I want to give a shout out to artist extraordinaire, Dwight Allen O'Neill. Thank you all so much for tuning in and for being a part of this part one discussion. We're going to end right now. Y'all take care. Continue to stay safe. Okay, be shelter in place as much as you can. If you have to go out, once again, continue to practice social distancing and continue to stay safe. Wear your mask at all times and stuff. And until next time, until tomorrow evening, y'all be blessed. Y'all take care, y'all.
Be safe.
God bless you.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.
To everybody that tuned in to us on YouTube, thank you all so much. We love you. We appreciate you. To everybody that tuned in, y'all take care, all right? Ricky Smith from In the Life Atlanta Foundation, thank you so much for tuning in on YouTube. DJ Ephraim Adams, thank you so much for your input and for tuning in on YouTube in the chat. To Executive Director Jamie Ferguson from the Atlanta Pride Committee, thank you so much for tuning in. Hope to have you on the panel on tomorrow. And until next time, you all, love y'all. Ow.